Welcome to Strange But True. Take a breath, slow down, and listen carefully. Some stories are documented, some are debated, some refuse to be explained. We tell you the stories. You decide what's true. Now, let's begin our journey. In late January of 1959, 9 experienced hikers set out into the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were young, healthy, highly trained. Most were university students. Several were engineers. One was a war veteran. All had completed previous winter expeditions in extreme conditions. None were inexperienced. None were reckless. Their destination was a remote mountain pass in the northern Urals, a region known for brutal winds, sudden storms, and lethal cold. Today, that place is known as Dyatlov Pass. They never returned. When the group failed to check in by their scheduled date, concern grew quickly. This was not unusual weather. This was not a missed signal. Experienced hikers knew how to communicate delays. A search was launched. At first, it was slow, then urgent. What rescuers found would become one of the most disturbing unsolved cases of the 20th century. The hiker's tent was discovered first. It was still standing, not flattened, not buried, not destroyed by weather. The tent had been properly pitched on the slope of the mountain, oriented against the wind. Inside were their boots, their heavy coats, their food, their cameras, their equipment, everything they would have needed to survive the night. And yet, the tent had been slashed open, long cuts, clean lines from the inside. This detail matters. Experienced hikers do not abandon shelter in sub-zero temperatures without boots. They do not cut their way out unless the exit feels unusable. They do not leave equipment behind unless they believe staying is more dangerous than freezing outside. Footprints led away from the tent. Bare feet, socks, some wearing only light clothing. The prints were orderly, not chaotic. No signs of running, no evidence of a struggle. They walked away, together. The trail descended toward a nearby forest. The first 2 bodies were found near the edge of the trees. They were barefoot, poorly clothed, positioned near the remains of a small fire. Their hands showed signs of frostbite. Their skin was burned and cracked from exposure. Above them, branches of a nearby tree were broken high above the ground, as if someone had climbed it, or tried to. Between the forest and the tent, 3 more bodies were discovered, scattered along the slope, collapsed, facing back toward the campsite, as if they had attempted to return, as if something had changed. The final 4 were found months later in a ravine, buried beneath deep snow. They were more severely injured. Crushed ribs, massive internal trauma, skulls fractured, yet their skin showed little external damage. The force required to cause those injuries was extreme, comparable to a high-speed collision. There were no signs of an avalanche at the tent site, no debris, no impact scars, no slope conditions consistent with a slide. Radiation was later detected on some of the hikers' clothing. The source was never fully explained. One body was missing a tongue, another was missing eyes. Official reports attributed this to post-mortem damage, exposure, scavenging, possible, but unsettling. The Soviet investigation concluded with a vague statement that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force. No further explanation was provided. The case was closed. Over the years, theories emerged: avalanche, military testing, infrasound, extreme weather, disorientation. Each explains part of the event. None explain all of it. Why cut the tent from the inside? Why leave calmly instead of running? Why split into groups? why injuries inconsistent with exposure alone, and perhaps most importantly, why did all 9 make the same decision? This was not panic by one individual. This was not hysteria. This was a group response, a shared conclusion that remaining inside the tent was no longer safe. Something forced them out. What that something was remains unknown. Today, the mountain still stands. The pass still bears the name of the expedition's leader. The cold remains unchanged, and the question remains, what could drive 9 trained hikers into the dark, without boots, without coats, into conditions that would kill them within minutes? Whatever happened that night left no clear trace, only silence and a tent cut open from within. History has a way of hiding the truth. Inside tales, inside myths, inside legends, inside things that feel just a little off. If this story held your attention, subscribe to Strange But True and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Because sometimes what sounds unbelievable is exactly where the truth hides.